But I do want to welcome everyone. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. Tonight's going to be a little different than a typical real estate webinar because we are pulling back the curtain on a real apartment investment that our team already owns. And about a year and a half ago, we acquired this workforce housing property. It is a 124 unit in Stillwater, Oklahoma, that we purchased for $7.8 million. And yep, we had a business plan, we had projections. We still have our business plan and projections in the works and rolling currently. And of course, we share those with our investors, who I'm sure some of them will be here and watching this recording as well. So we welcome that. This asset has actually been outperforming our expectations, and tonight we're going to share why. This is not a like, look how great we are kind of presentation. It really is just a chance to walk through a live case study and, what attracted us to this market, what's gone according to plan, what has surprised us, and kind of what we're seeing on the ground today. I'm Hillary Graves. I have a company called Bricktown Investments, so my investors are associated with me there. I am joined by three fantastic partners on this project, Jay and Tana Boersma and Seth Offlager. So I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves now briefly, and they'll speak later as well. So Jay and Tana, will you go first?
I'll go first. So Tana Boersma and Jay and I own Neighborhood Capital Resources, and we're a general partner on this deal that we're doing the case study for. And my part in all of our multifamily work is really just the admin and organization um, portion of paperwork and keeping everything organized and getting information to partners and to investors and communicating with the property management company and kind of just the hub of all the communications that happen. And I'll let Jay give a little bit more about who we are and what else we do.
Thanks. Our real estate background comes mostly from residential lending. We've been doing that for over 30 years. We had a 15-year period where we owned a couple of mortgage companies. That chapter ended about 10 years ago. About 7 years ago, we started investing and operating multifamily assets and primarily workforce housing, primarily in Oklahoma. We do live in Arizona, so we do have some assets there.
All right. Hey guys, I'm Seth Offlager. My official title is Director of Management for Star Property Management. We are based out of Stillwater, Oklahoma, and manage across Oklahoma in general. So I've been moving. I started as a property manager on site, moved up to a regional manager position, and then moved on to Director of Management overseeing it. I work directly with Jay and Tana on multiple deals and love doing property management, love giving people a place that they can be proud to call home.
Love it. So we'll spend a few minutes talking about the market and the property itself. We will give you an update on how this investment is performing and give Jay, Tana, and Seth a chance to talk about their role in that and how that's working. And then we will leave time for questions at the end. If anyone raises their hand or puts something in the chat, you guys are welcome to do that, of course. So with that, I'm going to jump into some of these slides here and talk a little bit about why this little corner of Oklahoma has turned into such a strong performer for us. Why Oklahoma? Why Stillwater? Before we dive into the property itself, any real estate investors on this call will know that you kind of choose your market first and you do some market research to make sure that you're buying in a place that makes sense and that is going to not just do well in the short term, but in the long term as well. And when I say long term, I really just mean the 5 year hold period and sometimes beyond. So as investors, we're kind of looking for these certain things that check the box, if you will: resilience, stability, affordability, job growth, and of course, a strong rental demand. And Stillwater did and does check a lot of those boxes for us. But the numbers and the demographics really tell the story much better than I can do. So I'm going to turn it over to Jay, who has he and Tana both have a personal tie to this area. So he can walk us through a little bit more about the market, some of the major employers, and why we believe this is such a compelling place to invest.
So, but really the most important thing when you're analyzing an asset and thinking about buying a multifamily property is there's nothing more important than market knowledge. So, one of the things that we had going for us on this deal was that I was born and raised in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Seth was born and raised in Stillwater, Oklahoma. His dad was born and raised in Stillwater, Oklahoma. My dad moved there in 1967. Um, so, what we knew when we were analyzing this property is that between his family and our family, we owned 6 or 8 properties that were all right at about 97% occupancy as we were in escrow, getting ready to buy Bricktown. So Stillwater's growing. There's a uniqueness to Stillwater in that, and Payne County. So you see the population of 74,000. It's really more like 100,000 when you consider Payne County. And Payne County, Stillwater is the hub of Payne County, so it's a little bit bigger population. But what's interesting about it is that it is very interconnected with Oklahoma City and Tulsa, which between those two MSAs have about 2.6 million people. So it's not that we're a suburb of either of those cities, but there's a dynamic that's interconnected where people live in the city and work in the small town, or vice versa. One of the other elements that we analyzed that we really like, aside from income and affordability and being kind of a renter community with Oklahoma State, a major university with close to 30,000 students, there's more renters in Stillwater than there are homeowners, but it's very expensive to own a home in across the country now, but also in Stillwater. When we were analyzing this deal, we figured out, and our mortgage lending experience helped us a little bit in this, but what we figured out was that a house payment was about $1,600 or $1,800 when you put a minimum down payment on a medium priced home. And we were shooting for average rents in the year that we got started of averaging less than $1,000. So that was all spoke to this being a good deal. Mostly the supply and demand dynamic with 97% occupancy. We were super excited to buy another asset in Stillwater. And another fun piece of trivia: Seth's grandfather developed and built the asset in, I think it's 1970.
Yep.
And Seth's dad reminded us that he remembered cleaning toilets when he was 14 years old at Bricktown. So those are just interesting pieces of trivia. Let's go to the next slide.
I will do that. So you guys obviously have a very close connection, not just with the town, but also with the property itself. All
So
right,
now
so
we're in Stillwater, and we've talked about Stillwater and the supply and demand ratio. And so then when you talk about real estate, it's all about location, location, location. One thing about this asset is, if you see, I mean, you can't really see the map, but coming from Oklahoma City, you come in from the west on Highway 51. So there's never, and on college game days, like football game days, a big portion of the people that are coming east into Stillwater from the west, from Oklahoma City, down Highway 51. And this intersection where Bricktown is a very prominent intersection. So everybody sees it. Everybody in general knows that there's an apartment complex there. And then it's less than a mile from the medical center, which is the #2 employer in town. It's also a regional medical hub for northern Oklahoma that's growing and has grown tremendously over the years. But you've got Oklahoma State University that, as the crow flies, is also just right about a mile. That's further than college kids will walk these days, but the location is great. One of the benefits that we've had, though, is unlike a lot of the Sun Belt, like all of the Sun Belt except for Oklahoma and Arkansas, which are actually not considered Sun Belt. Oklahoma and Arkansas behave more like the Midwest in that they're slower growth. So population growth in Oklahoma was growing around 5 or 6% at that time. And so what didn't happen was it didn't get overbuilt. It never became oversupplied. So for the last 5 years, rent growth has been right around 3%. It's projected to stay right in that range. So
well, we're talking numbers. I think this next slide. There you go.
And the main thing here is just that for all of the opportunities that we put together, the return metrics must land either in these ranges or outside of these ranges on the high side. So you've got an equity multiple, which is a return metric that some investors like to consider. A 2.0 return equity multiple would mean that you double your money. So for over whatever period of time is being projected, a 2.0 return or equity multiple, sorry, would be a doubling of your money. So let's see, cash on cash is the amount of cash that's returned. For us, we return and do distributions on a quarterly basis. We've changed that since we've some of the newer assets that we've bought and a little bit. We've been projecting 6 to 8%, but 7% is always our target. If we don't think we can achieve that, we probably won't. At least in the Oklahoma market, and especially on workforce housing, we probably wouldn't present the opportunity. And when you get to achieve the kind of equity multiple in the 2% range, would mean that you're averaging 20% per year, so 17 to 21% average annual return and 15 to 18% internal rate of return, which is really just the average annual rate of return with the time value of money taken into account.
Exactly. And here was our, and still is, our exit strategy. You want to talk on that for a second?
Yeah, so there have been some periods 15 years ago where it was possible to do this kind of opportunity to buy a multifamily and have the rents go up so much and therefore the value go up so much that you could actually refinance, cash your investors out 100%, but leave them in the deal and keep giving them returns. So that's what we would love to do. But the dynamic hasn't been, it may have been like that also again right around COVID for properties that were exited in the 20 to early 22 time period. That could have also happened. But what's more realistic is that we would sell the property at the end of a 5 year period. And through that sale, the capital event that happens is what provides most of the return to our investors. So normally we would be planning on exiting. If we could ever refinance and hold it for longer, we would be more than happy to do that.
Yes, and we've talked about our projections. I still have the projections up here from that earlier slide, but this is what we're actually achieving right now.
So yeah, we got off on the right foot on this one. Seth is super conservative. Seth underestimates rent sometimes. I don't know if he's ever overestimated rent. So true to form, he and really it wasn't all Seth. We agreed with his rent projection. But right after we closed, what Seth learned through the property management was that we could actually get the rents that we were projecting after an $8,000-ish per unit interior renovation. And we learned that we could actually get those target rents without doing the renovation. So C-Star and Seth raised the rent to that level, and we began achieving that immediately. So what that allowed to have happen was that instead of the 6% that we were projecting in year one, we were closer to about 6.9. And so now we're in year two, and through 5 quarters, we're already over 7% return on average over those 5 quarters. And so we definitely expect that the pace to continue as originally projected, with cash on cash returns potentially hitting as high as 9.7% in year five.
And yeah, this came out a little fuzzy, but you can see it. This is a good picture of kind of where we're at, and the rents we have been able to get have been this number over what we were even expecting, which is that's what you like to see, the green. You like to see a spread that's even better than you were thinking, because you have to project a little bit of growth if you pick the right market, if you pick the right spot. There should be some growth, but this has been exceeding that. So I would love to have Seth. If Seth has a kind of a double interest here, he's owner and also property manager. Would love to hear him talk about how he's been able to meet these projections and go beyond, and just kind of what's come up along the way that maybe are challenges that we've been able to overcome and how we have been able to keep things rolling.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, Bricktown is everything that Jay and Tana have explained as far as where our location is, as far as the strength of the market in Stillwater right now, are just some of the key factors onto why we are doing what we're doing there. But when we did take over, and like Jay was talking about earlier, when we purchased the property, we did have these lower rents projected. And Jay is 100% right. I am a conservative rent underwriter. I do not want to shoot myself in the foot and overpromise and underdeliver. And Jay knows that about me, and he'll try and push me. Him and Tana will. It's great. So we did, we maybe were a little bit conservative. I'm glad we were. And that is what we found out so soon. And what you're seeing here is we came in and started doing our renewals. And my strategy with renewals is typically let's get our market rents posted. And from there, we're going to, over a 24-month period, we are going to work on getting our current residents up to market rate. A lot of people like to see that within the first year. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but at the same time, we don't want to rock the boat too much with all of our new residents coming in, starting that good relationship. Well, what we started to see is we started raising people up to these amounts and we're getting zero pushback. So that was within the first 2 months that we were on site managing and owning this property. And at that time, we decided, well, let's just bump up all the rates right now on a classic level up to what we thought we could get post renovations. And our leasing did not slow down. Renewals kept going, leasing didn't slow down, which are the keys for this property and keeping high occupancy, high resident retention, and just continuing to operate and evaluate where your market rent is at any given time and if it needs to be increased again. So those are factors we're always looking at. More so, some people will ask, when do you look at those numbers? I would say we look at them every single month to determine what we're looking at from a demand perspective at Bricktown. So that's what we've seen. We've also been doing renovations, so it's not that we just didn't do renovations. We are doing renovations. We are achieving those rents as well. Especially, I mean, I think we just got a 12.99 on a 2 bedroom, 1.5 bath townhouse over there on a renovated unit. So that's even higher than what we had ever anticipated getting. But we've been seeing the 3 bedrooms unrenovated in our market. So this doesn't in Bricktown. We just started seeing those go for a lot more. So we decided to push the rent on that. So it's been really exciting. Bricktown, we have had some challenges as far as, when we first got started, getting the right people in place was a big thing. What I like to say is we're only as good, one, as your property management company. You can own a property and have a really bad property management company. You can be the property management company, have a really bad manager. So there's some type of challenges in getting the right people in place. So from the top down, from Jay and Tana to myself, and then to our property managers, we just have a great team because we have a property manager that we can trust. We have a property manager that is very motivated, self-motivated, hardworking. And then you have Jay and Tana on the other end of that are always, they're going to challenge us. They are going to ask the right questions. And then that gives us a reason to have to deliver to them and our investors as well. So those are probably the biggest challenges that you have to face when taking over a property. We also have a great maintenance guy there when we talk about staff, a gentleman that's been with us for 16 years. And having someone like that, even if you maybe have to pay a little bit more than what you want, can really help a property be sustainable and to deliver really good expense numbers, which is what Bricktown is doing, because that gentleman can stay on site and fix a lot of things without having to vendor out items. So that's what I have seen as a really big success at Bricktown. It is a great property in a fantastic location and a market that we are thinking and frankly know is only going to continue to get better.
Oh, I loved it. And as I advertised this, I was saying the dream team, and it really is. And when you find those really good maintenance guys or property managers or, the ones who have been sticking around and are self-motivated, it's definitely worth paying them a little extra just to keep them around. That it's hard to find that self-motivation. So that's pretty awesome. You all are doing great. As we wrap up here, I think this case study really just highlights the importance of buying in a good market, in the right market, in the right neighborhood, and the underwriting conservatively, as we talked about, and partnering with great operators. That's it. So this property has really exceeded our expectations thus far, not because of any one thing, but just because those pieces all came together, and we are incredibly grateful to our investors for trusting us. And we're excited to continue executing on this business plan and others in the future. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you would like to connect or learn more. Okay, Katie. Yeah, Katie, go ahead. Feel free.
Hi, thank you. I was just curious, in your introduction or in your title, you had referred to the property as workforce housing. Do you have a specific qualification that you use to determine that classification, or is it just a generic, like, naming of it?
I
Does that
can
make
take,
sense?
I can, and Seth, if you have or if anyone has another comment. So, up until a few days ago, I didn't know the answer to that. It's a buzzword. It's a, but really what it means is that it's affordable. And so I went on Chat GPT, and I can't remember the exact ranges, but essentially, I think it is a property that people who earn between 30 and 80% of the average median income can afford.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. I have heard it used as a buzzword. I wasn't sure if there were other qualifications, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a big buzzword. If you ask like 10 operators what it means, um, I would guess that one or two of them would give a more thorough and more detailed definition than what I just did. It's a lot of people use the terminology, but um, yeah, we don't. Now we know what it means.
Or they could give something equally as general, like blue collar. Uh,
Yeah,
we think of it that way,
affordable.
but what does that mean too? So, yeah,
Thank you.
affordable. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your great question. All right. Well, anyway, thank you guys for coming. Feel free to reach out if you think of something later as well. We'd love to connect with any of you. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, Hillary.
Hey,
Talk to you
thank
tomorrow.
you.
Thank
See
you.
ya. Yep, see ya.
Bye
Thanks.
bye.
Bye, guys.